Hey y'all, welcome to the filling station. It's a new day, another opportunity to either make money in this market or to just learn from the market. But first, let me give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. But if you could please like, share, subscribe, y'all, because we learn and we grow together. With that being said, let's get started. So we are looking at Tesla, and I say so often, y'all, Tesla does what Tesla does, right? We closed at 310.78, and it seems like we've had a pre-market low of around the 307.87 price gathered in this area here. I normally look at the 30-minute chart, but for today I'm going to show on the 1-hour chart. Why? Because I know that we have some trouble right here at this ATR trail and stop at the 113.69. So we could very well come back to this area only to have some trouble, and we could either break through or come back down. That's why it's important that we mark our levels and know where our trouble places are. Now, on yesterday we had some very strong support at this 312.80 area. We test this area 1, 2, 3 times before we actually broke through it over here. So that's another area we definitely need to watch. So opening under the 312.82 today will be a concern for me. So are we going to get rejected here and come back to the downside? That will be the question, right? So back to the 30-minute chart. I always say, where are the trouble places for Tesla? Breaking through, let's say, this level of 313.86, we could possibly have trouble 314.90, and again 315.31. Should we break that 315.96, 316.50, breaking that level 317.61, and if we break that 317.61 area right there, we could possibly have trouble again somewhere around, let's say, the 317.93, 318.26, and 318.85. Now let's see if I can make back to the downside. Let's look to the downside. If by chance we break under, I would say this 312.82 area, we could possibly find support again, 312.57, not very far away. Now breaking that level, 312.11 and 311.76, 311.50, 311.14. Those are support areas as of now. Should we break that, y'all see there's a bit, a little space here from the 311.14 down to this level of 310.07. So anything can stop us out here. Definitely need to be careful at that area. Now you see the ATR trailing stop is forming around the 309.79. So breaking the 309.79 area brings us back to this zone here that we were trading in at 309.05 would be a support area from there. Now should we break that around the, let's say, this area of 308.47, breaking that 308.07, and should we break that, it brings us back to the 307.60. So if Tesla is something that you trade today, I just say trade carefully. Why? Because Tesla does what Tesla does, right? So we are now looking at the SPY, and the SPY closed at 622.14. What's interesting is we're coming off of this 627.97 only to make a low here, pre-market low of 619.78. So 619.78. It seems as if we were moving sideways here at this level of support around the 621.53. Resistance was at the 622.13. We broke through that. The 50 EMA could be a rejection area for us as of now. However, we know the ATR trailing stop is somewhere around the 622.79, and y'all see there's a few layers of resistance here for the SPY at that 622.79. The 200 EMA is around the 623 area here, right at this level. I have the level marked here at 623.03. So that 623 area could be strong resistance for the SPY. However, breaking that, we could possibly have trouble 623.25, and you see another few layers of resistance here for the SPY starting at the 623.50 up to the 623.64. Now should we break that, 623.86, and breaking that 624.04. So anywhere between the 623 and the 624 is strong resistance, in my opinion, for the SPY. Again, not financial advice. Breaking that 624.04, we could possibly have trouble again, 624.90. And should we break that level, 625.88, breaking that 625.88 for the SPY today, 626. 625.30, and should we break that 625.85 and 627.70 could be a rejection area for us. Now let's look back to the downside. I'm going to see if I can make that bigger because those, yes. Okay, so back to the downside for the SPY. Should we break under this level of 622.13, we can find support again 621.68, and y'all see that 621.53 not very far away. So breaking that means we broke through a few layers of support. So breaking that, we could very well come back to this level of 620.95 without, before we get there, something stopped us in this area. And I'm going to mark that because I like to go back in and feel those places when I find a gathering spot. As I like to say, a consolidation or a place where, buyers and sellers met, right? Let's say that. So the 621.22 is an area here. Price came to this area, touched this line a few times. So back to the downside under the 621.53, this level of 621.22 could be a support area for us. Should we break that level, 620.95, and breaking that brings us back to around the 620.66. Breaking that, 620.46 for the SPY. Should we break that level, 620.29, and breaking that brings us back to around 619.96. Now breaking that brings us back to 619.78, and y'all see the level I have marked was a 619.75, very close. That's why it's so important that we mark our support and our resistance, y'all. So breaking that 619.78 area, 619.51, and again at 619.39, all the way down 619.25, 619.05, and 618.86. So those are support areas for the SPY. So if the SPY is something that you trade today, again, y'all, I say just trade carefully. Why? Because in this market, anything is possible. Nothing is guaranteed. We are now looking at NVDA. We closed at 170.70, and as you can see here, looks like we have been having let's go back to the high that it made here of 172.80. I like 172.87. I like to mark those. Now it seems like price has been gathering here in this area here, and let's say in this area here. So I definitely need to remember those places, right? So back to the upside, we would need to stay above this 170.92. However, price was still here in this area here around the 171.45, not very far away. So 171.45 could be a rejection area for us. Now breaking that level, price came back to this place here around the 172.35. That could be another rejection area for us. I'm just looking at the body of where these candles are here. That could be a rejection area. 172.35, breaking that 172.87 could be another rejection area. So back to the downside for NVDA, let's say we break under the 170.92, we could very well come back around to the 168.88, 169.08 here, and if we break the 169.08, which is our ATR trailing stop, we could very well come back to this level 167.89, and should we break that 167.37, breaking that 166.90, which is the 200 EMA, which, breaking that level 166.52, not very far away, right? So breaking that, we can come back to around the 165.97, 165.16, 164.82, and again 164.42, that 164.12. So that 164 area could be a strong area of support for NVIDIA. Again, not financial advice. It has been making new highs, so it's important to go in and chart those levels and mark your levels, and however you chart, whatever works best for you. Let me say it that way. So if you're trading NVIDIA today, those are possible areas to the upside and to the downside. And y'all know I say it again, in this market, anything is possible, right? So we are now looking at AMD. We closed at 155.61, and I always try to go to what I say the gathering spot or that consolidation area is here. Price gathered, we bounced from this area of support only to come back up here to get rejected. So where are the trouble places as of now for AMD? We need to get back above the 155.54. Look, we can have trouble here. That ATR trail and stop is right at a level that I have marked at the 156.18. I like to see that 156.18, 156.25 area. It could be a rejection area for AMD. Now, should we break that 156.75, 157.31, 157.60, 158.23 could be a rejection area for AMD. And should we break that level, 159.18. Now, let's look to the downside. Let's say we break under let's say under the 154.54 as of now. Should we break that, we could very well come back to excuse me, and around the 154.04 area. That is the 50 EMA and a level that I have marked here as a level of support. So breaking that, we can come back to around the 153.65, 153.31, 152.98, 152.64, 152.14, breaking that level 151.52. And should we break that 150.92, breaking that 150.92, y'all see anywhere in between this area, we could very well get stopped out at that 150 area. And should we lose that 149.61, so if AMD is something that you trade today, I say trade carefully. So we are now looking at Meta, and we close at 17.39. This is our gathering spot or the consolidation area. Here's like immediately my eye goes to this place. So we tried to create that here. Where are the trouble places as of now? That support was around the 712.86. Resistance was around the 714.62 area. Now, should we break that, we could possibly have trouble 715.58. And again, here at 717.04, should we break that 718.63, and should we break that 720, could be a rejection area for Meta today, breaking that 720 area, 722.15, 722.93, 723.81, and again here at 725.46, breaking that level brings us back to 726.99. Now let's look to the downside. If by chance we break under the 712.03, we could possibly come back to around 711.27, and again here at 709.86. That 709.86 was a support area. We've been there, right? So breaking that brings us back to 708.27, 705. 706.48, and breaking that level 705.50. Now breaking that 705.50, which is here, we could very well come back to this level around the 703.51. That was 703.51, and breaking that 702.47. So if Meta is something that you trade today, I say so often, y'all mark your levels, and once it goes against your why, get out. For once it goes against your reason for getting into the trade, make sure you get out of it, right? Have the discipline to get out. So we do have a few inside day candles for today, Carnival Cruise Line being one of those. And as you see, that if we broke that 29.30 area, 29.38 was the target, and it seems like we've already reached that target pre-market. Now can we break to the downside? Absolutely. So under 28.61, 28.58 is the target for CCL or Carnival Cruise Lines. It is an inside day candle. Let's see, FAST, F-A-S-T, is also an inside day candle. If we should break above this level here of 45.61, upside target 46.06. Now to the downside, under 44.70, downside target today 43.78. FAST or F-A-S-T is an inside day candle. KMI, Kinder Morgan, is also an inside day candle for today, above 28.36, upside target 28.37, not very far, right? Now to the downside, under 27.77, downside target 27.74, not really a big difference, right? So Kroger is also on the list again as an inside day candle. KR, if by chance we break above 72.30, 72.44 is the target. Now to the downside, under 71.49, we have a downside target today for Kroger at $70.29. So if that is something that you trade today, I say so often, y'all trade carefully. One more inside day candle for today is Walmart. If by chance we break above 95.80, 95.85 is the target. Now to the downside, under this level of 94.94, downside target 94.38. Walmart is an inside day candle. It is trading sideways, or in that consolidation area. Let's look and see how much Walmart normally moves per day. $1.55, not really a big mover. However, if that's something that you trade, I say again, y'all trade carefully. I'm going to go back to the SPY just to see where we are. And yes, and I'm going to go back to Tesla just to see if anything would have changed, or yeah, did we get rejected at that area. Back to the 1 hour chart, and we come very close to that ATR trailing stop again around that 313.69 area. What will be interesting is breaking this level 313.86. So if this is something that you trade, I said again, y'all, trade carefully. So this is what I see when I look at the market. There's so many different ways to make money in this market, and what's challenging is trying to figure out the strategy that works best for you, and for you to have the discipline to execute your plans. Make sure you have a plan going into the trade, right? So again, I hope that everyone have a very profitable, a very productive day today. If you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, y'all. We learn and we grow together. With that being said, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.